today's lecture we will see anti-malarial drugs part 2. I am Dr. Vipul Navadia, tutor from Department of Pharmacology, Government Medical College, Surat. So, as we have seen in the last lecture, this topic is divided in two parts. In previous lecture we covered relevant microbiology of malaria and approach for prophylaxis and treatment. And in today's lecture we will continue and will cover individual antimalarial drugs and artemisinin based combination therapy. So before we start with this today's topic, we will quickly cover what we have seen in the last lecture. So microbiology of the malaria, there are 4 species of malarial parasites: Falciparum, Vivax, Ovale and Malaria. And this is the life cycle of malarial parasite. It enters in the body from the female Anopheles mosquito. And after entering in the body, it first goes to liver, where it multiplies by free erythrocytic schizogony. And then the merozoites are released in the blood, and in blood it again undergoes the erythrocytic schizogony. And each rupture of the erythrocytes is associated with the clinical attack of malaria. And from the blood, if another mosquito bites, then the sexual gametes are transmitted to the mosquito, and then this mosquito can transmit the disease to another human being. And this is the exoerythrocytic cycle, which is responsible for storage, which is kind of storage of parasite in the body. And if these hypnozoites remain in the body, then the malarial parasite can cause subsequent clinical attack of malaria even without biting of the mosquito. Now coming to the objective and use of antimalarial drugs. So we can use the antimalarial drugs for prophylaxis, clinical cure, radical cure, or to prevent the human to mosquito transmission of the malarial parasite. In the chemoprophylaxis should be kept limited for short-term use and in special risk groups only to prevent the resistance of the drug. Then the causal prophylaxis. Prophylaxis can be of 2 types, causal or suppressive. For causal prophylaxis, we target the pre-erythrocytic phase, where we use primaquine, proguanil, atovaquone plus proguanil. For suppressive prophylaxis, we target the erythrocytic phase. So here the parasites are killed even before the clinical attack occurs. And for this we can use chloroquine, mefloquine, or doxycycline, and proguanil plus chloroquine. Then intermittent preventive treatment of pregnancy. In pregnancy, for this we can use pyrimethamine plus sulfadoxine combination, and it is given in 2nd and 3rd trimester pregnancy, especially in Falciparum endemic areas. Now clinical cure. Here again we target the erythrocytic schizogony. Now the antimalarial drugs are broadly divided into high efficacy drugs and low efficacy drugs. The high efficacy drugs are artemisinin, chloroquine, amodiaquine, quinine, mefloquine, halofentrine, lumefantrine and atovaquone. They can be used singly also. However, nowadays they are generally combined with other drugs to prevent the resistance. And low efficacy drugs like proguanil, pyrimethamine, sulfonamide, tetracycline and clindamycin are always used in combination in only. Next, faster acting drugs are preferred, especially in Falciparum malaria, where delay in the treatment can be deadly. Now relapse and recrudescence. The relapse occurs when the hypnozoites gets again released in the blood, and recrudescence is due to persistence of parasites in the blood, and it is seen with Plasmodium falciparum. Now the treatment of uncomplicated malaria. For Vivax, Ovale and malaria, in case of chloroquine sensitivity, chloroquine plus primaquine is used. The primaquine is again used as radical curative. And in case of chloroquine resistance, quinine is combined with either doxycycline or clindamycin plus primaquine. The another Option is artemisinin based combination therapy plus single dose of primaquine. Sorry, the primaquine dose will be 15 days, 14 days. Now the chloroquine sensitive falciparum malaria. In this case, chloroquine plus primaquine is given. Another option is, in case of chloroquine resistance, is artesunate plus mefloquine, artemether plus lumefantrine, artesunate plus sulfadoxine plus pyrimethamine, arterolone plus piperaquine, quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin, etc. In case of mixed falciparum and Plasmodium vivax infection, it is treated as falciparum. However, sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine combination is not used because it is not effective against vivax. And primaquine is used to prevent the relapse. In case of falciparum malaria during pregnancy, it is treated promptly and aggressively. And the option we have is quinine plus clindamycin, which can be used in all the trimester, and it is more safe during first trimester. Artemisinin based combination therapy is an option in second and third trimester only. Now the vivax malaria during pregnancy, for this chloroquine is used as it is used in non-pregnant ladies. And for a radical cure, primaquine should be postponed till after the delivery. In case of severe and complicated falciparum malaria, the drugs used are artesunate, artemether, artether, and quinine. These all are first given with the intravenous route, and when the patient can start taking oral drugs, then the regimen is switched over to oral. Now, radical cure is required in case of radical curative drug is required in case of Plasmodium vivax, but not in case of falciparum. Primaquine and tafenoquine are the options for radical cure. Now the gameticidal drugs. The elimination of the gameticidal drugs eliminate the male and female gametes. They reduce the transmission in mosquito. However, they do not provide any benefit to the patient who is receiving the drug. They only prevent the transmission of disease to other parasite and thereby to other persons. Drug used are primaquine, artemisinin, and proguanil. And now we come to the topic of today's lecture, anti-malarial drugs. We will see each and every anti-malarial drugs and their properties individually now. These drugs are chloroquine, amodiaquine, piperaquine, mefloquine, quinine, proguanil, pyrimethamine, primaquine, tafenoquine, doxycycline, clindamycin, and a group of artemisinin derivatives which includes artesunate, artemether, artether, dihydroartemisinin, arterolone, lumefantrine, pyronidine, and atovaquone. Let's start with chloroquine first. It is rapidly acting erythrocytic schizenticide against all species. So it works on the erythrocytic phase and it works against all 4 species of the malarial parasite. However, it has no effect on hepatic stage and has no gameticidal activity. So because it does not act on the hepatic stage, it does not prevent the relapse. As we have seen, the relapse occurs when the parasite remaining in the liver are again released in the bloodstream. So to prevent the relapse, these parasites need to be killed. But chloroquine does not work on those parasites, so it does not prevent the relapse. And it neither has gameticidal activity. Now coming to the mechanism of action. It is not exactly known. In fact, as we will see each and every drug, we will know that for most of the anti-malarial drugs, the exact mechanism of action is not known. So this is something common regarding mechanism of action for all the anti-malarial drugs. But whatever we know will be covered. So what we know about chloroquine, it interferes with degradation of hemoglobin in parasite. So the heme that is preserved and it also forms the complexes with the heme. this heme and heme chloroquine complex then damages the parasitic membrane. So this damage to the membrane ultimately leads to the death of the parasite. So this is the proposed mechanism by which the chloroquine works. And these chloroquine-like drugs like quinine, mefloquine, lumefantrine, and pyronidine, they all appear to act by the similar manner by forming interacting with hemoglobin and then damaging the parasitic membrane. Now talking about the chloroquine resistance. Due to extensive use of chloroquine in India, the resistance is much prevalent. Now talking about the species-specific resistance, first among the Plasmodium falciparum. The resistance in falciparum for chloroquine is seen in India, Southeast Asia, China, Africa, and South America. Due to extensive resistance in India, National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program has switched over to artemisinin-based combination therapy as first-line treatment. So in India, falciparum malaria is, whenever we encounter falciparum malaria, the first choice is ACT, that is artemisinin-based combination therapy, and we no longer use chloroquine as the first treatment in case of falciparum malaria. Now the resistance among Vivax parasites, it is seen in Indonesia, Myanmar, Peru, Colombia, Ethiopia, and it's also detected in India, but it's not still much of a problem in India. So chloroquine can still be used when in case of Vivax malaria in India if we know that the parasite are still sensitive to the chloroquine. However, in case of resistance to chloroquine, the treatment options in Vivax malaria are quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin or ACT plus primaquine. Moving further, other actions. Now, apart from the anti-malarial action, chloroquine has also other actions, and there are also some uses based on these actions. So, these actions are, it's active against Entamoeba histolytica and Giardia lamblia. Next action is anti-inflammatory. It also has local irritant and local anesthetic effect on injection. It also has smooth muscle relaxant property. It is antihistaminic and antiarrhythmic property also. Now pharmacokinetics. Its oral absorption is very excellent, and it has a high affinity for melanin and nuclear chromatin. And because of this, it gets concentrated in various body tissues like liver, spleen, kidney, lungs, skin, and leukocytes. On prolonged use, it accumulates in the retina and causes ocular toxicity. Talking about the metabolism, it is partly metabolized by liver and is slowly excreted in urine. Now the half-life. The early plasma half-life is 3 to 10 days, and the terminal plasma half-life is 1 to 2 months. As we have seen that the chloroquine accumulates in these tissues due to its high affinity for melanin and nuclear chromatin. When the drug is used for over a longer period, it gets stored in various tissues. So when we stop taking the drug, first the plasma concentration drops, which we call the early plasma half-life, and during that the plasma half-life is 3 to 10 days. But as the plasma concentration drops, the chloroquine starts getting released from the various tissues in which it was stored. So it takes longer for these tissues to get cleared of the chloroquine, and the plasma half-life in that terminal stage is 1 to 2 months. Now adverse effects and contraindications. It can cause nausea, vomiting, anorexia, uncontrollable itching, epigastric pain, uneasiness, difficulty in accommodation, and headache. On prolonged use, it can cause retinal damage and loss of vision, loss of hearing, rash, photoallergy, mental disturbances, myopathy, and graying of hair can also be observed. So these were all the adverse events with chloroquine. Talking about the contraindications, it should be used cautiously in liver disease, and it should not be co-administered with mefloquine, amiodarone, and other antiarrhythmic drugs. Now uses. Of course, the first and foremost, malaria. It is used for clinical cure in sensitive parasites. Obviously, it will be used only if the parasites are sensitive. And for prophylactic use, it is not allowed in India. It's not used in India. It's only used as clinical curative. But for prophylaxis, it is not used. The other uses are extraintestinal amoebiasis, as we have seen in the other actions of the chloroquine, that it is active against entamoeba histolytica. So it is used in case of infestation with this parasite also. Due to anti-inflammatory property, it's used in rheumatoid arthritis also. Other uses are discoid lupus erythematosus, Lepra reaction, photogenic reactions, and infectious mononucleosis. So these are all the uses of chloroquine. Now amodiaquine. It is identical to chloroquine. It is used for falciparum malaria, but it's only used with artesunate. As we will see in the when we see the artemisinin-based combination therapies. It's one component along with artesunate. Its side effects are also identical to chloroquine, but another neutropenia in children and in HIV patients who are receiving antiretroviral therapy is seen. Next drug, mefloquine. It is fast-acting erythrocytic schizentroside. Again, similar to chloroquine, it works on erythrocytic schizentrocytes, schizons, but it has no activity against gametes or hypnozoites. So it neither prevents the transmission to mosquitoes and nor prevents the relapse. And resistance with mefloquine is still less in India. In mechanism of action is again similar to chloroquine. That is, it forms complexes with heme, and that in turn damages the malarial parasite. Adverse effects and contraindication. It has bitter taste. It can cause dizziness, nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, sinus bradycardia, QT prolongation, and neuropsychiatric reactions. It is contraindicated in anxiety, depression, psychosis, and conduction defects. If given along with haloperidol, quinine, quinidine, or chloroquine, QT prolongation and cardiac arrest can occur. It's used in multi-resistant Plasmodium falciparum and used only as ACT, as I have already told in the beginning. It's only used in combination. And for it's also used for suppressive prophylaxis among travelers. Now quinine. It is obtained from cinchona bark. It has erythrocytic schizentrocidal activity in all species. However, it does not provide complete parasite clearance if it is used alone. So, along with quinine, either doxycycline or clindamycin is always combined. It has no effect on pre-erythrocytic stage or hypnozoites, but this time this drug works on malarial gametes. Now the mechanism of action, as we saw along with the mechanism of chloroquine, it is not exactly known, but it is similar to chloroquine. Resistance to quinine is sporadic in India. Other actions of the quinine, it's local irritant and anesthetic. When given orally, it is intensely bitter and causes nausea, vomiting, and epigastric discomfort. Upon injection, it causes pain and local necrosis in muscles and thrombosis in vein. Among systemic actions are increased gastric secretion, weak analgesic and antipyretic action. It also affects hearing and vision at higher doses. It is cardiac depressant, antiarrhythmic and hypotensive actions are seen at similar to quinidine. It decreases contractile power of skeletal muscle fiber. It stimulates myometrium and can cause abortion in early pregnancy. And it also causes release of insulin, so it causes hypoglycemia. Now all the other actions will be reappearing either in use, therapeutic or in the adverse events. Okay, so we are coming to synchronism only. This is a form of poisoning with quinine. So if a single large dose is taken or higher therapeutic doses are taken for few days, then this form of clinical symptoms appear with quinine. And it includes ringing in ear. It is one of the typical feature of synchronism, ringing in ears. Other features of synchronism are nausea, vomiting. This both because of gastric irritation and stimulation of chemoreceptor trigger zone. The other symptoms are due to neurotoxicity and constriction of retinal or auditory vessels. These symptoms are headache, mental confusion, vertigo, difficulty in hearing and visual defects. Finally, diarrhea, flushing and marked perspiration can also occur. Now all these symptoms subsides completely if the drug is stopped. So it is reversible. And one more adverse event with quinine is hemolysis. So it causes hemoglobinuria, black water fever and kidney damage. Now the uses of quinine. First, malaria. In malaria, it is used for uncomplicated resistant falciparum malaria, for which it is drug of choice during first trimester of pregnancy. Because as we have seen when studying the approach to treat the malaria, that this is the only safe option during the first trimester of pregnancy. So it is used for uncomplicated resistant falciparum malaria. In case of complicated and severe malaria, including cerebral malaria, it is again one of an option. And when used for this purpose, it is given with dextrose to prevent hypoglycemia. As we have seen that quinine is given by intravenous route. And in other actions, we have seen that quinine causes release of insulin. So there are chances of hypoglycemia. So when we give the quinine by infusion, it is mixed with dextrose. The other use is nocturnal muscle cramps. Moving to the next drug, proguanil. It is erythrocytic schizendocyte for both Plasmodium falciparum and vivax. It inhibits the pre-erythrocytic stage of Plasmodium falciparum, and gametocytes exposed to proguanil are not killed, but they may fail to develop properly in the mosquito. So it has mostly all type of actions. It is erythrocytic schizendocyte. It also inhibits pre-erythrocytic stage, and although it does not kill the gametes, but if the gametes are exposed to proguanil, they fail to develop in mosquito. Mechanism of action is inhibition of Plasmodium dihydrofolate reductase thymidylate synthase enzyme. And it is very well tolerated and used for causal and suppressive prophylaxis. As we have, as these drugs, it acts on because this is the very first stage in the development of malarial parasite in human body. Next is pyrimethamine. It is inhibitor of Plasmodium dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, PHFRase. It is erythrocytic schizendocyte, but this time it has the pyrimethamine has no effect on pre-erythrocytic phase of Plasmodium falciparum or exoerythrocytic phase of Plasmodium vivax. Adverse effects. It is relatively safe, but folate deficiency can occur. This is because the DHFR is one of excuse me. Dihydrofolate reductase is one of the enzyme required for synthesis of folic acid. So when if the patient is taking pyrimethamine, there are chances of folate deficiency. Talking about uses, it is used for treatment of falciparum malaria, but it's only used in combination with sulfonamide. And our next topic with this is now sulfonamides or dapsone are not particularly effective anti-malarial drugs in their own right. So if they are used alone, they do not have much activity against malarial parasites. But they form supra-additive synergistic combination with pyrimethamine due to sequential block. Because one drug acts on one step of the synthesis of folic acid and the other drug acts on the other step of the synthesis of folic acid. So when both the drugs are given together, they provide sequential block. So the combination is synergistic and it's more effective. And although both the components are slow acting, the combination is fast acting. So these are the advantages that we get when we combine these two drugs. It is clinically curative for Plasmodium falciparum. However, its efficacy against vivax is low. As we have been seeing that SP combination has less efficacy against in vivax. Now see adverse effects. Serious adverse effects like exfoliative dermatitis, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, etc. occur due to sulfonamide. Now these adverse events are features of sulfonamide. It's only one of the component of the combination, but it is there, so we have to be careful about these adverse events. And because of these adverse events, the use of this combination is restricted. And it is used only as single dose treatment of uncomplicated chloroquine-resistant falciparum malaria. And second is intermittent preventive treatment in pregnancy. You should be able to correlate by now all the regimens we saw when we were studying the approach to treat or for the prophylaxis of malaria. And during that, we have covered that for pregnancy, SP combination, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine is used as a single dose, at least 1 month apart, for in second and third trimester for prophylaxis. And in case of chloroquine-resistant falciparum malaria, we also saw this option. And it is contraindicated in infants because, again, of the sulfonamide component. Now, primaquine. It is active against pre-erythrocytic stage of Plasmodium falciparum, and it is highly active against gametocytes and hypnocytes. So this is different, like somewhat similar to proguanil, but mostly different from remaining drugs because, as we have been seeing repeatedly, most of the drugs are effective on erythrocytic stage, but have less effects on gametocytes or hypnocytes. But this primaquine is active against pre-erythrocytic as well as gametocytes and hypnocytes. So we can infer from these actions that it can be used for radical cure as well as prophylaxis also, for that matter. Now the mechanism of action. Again, it's not precisely known. However, it is believed that reactive intermediate metabolites of primaquine are believed to generate intraparasitic toxic oxidative species which interrupt the electron transport in Plasmodium mitochondria. So it is believed that its metabolite produces oxidative stress which disrupts the electron transport in plasmodial mitochondria. Next, adverse effects. It causes hemolysis, especially in G6PD deficiency patients. This is one of the enzyme found in red blood cells, which prevents red blood cells, but when it is deficient, the primaquine can cause hemolysis. So it should not be used during pregnancy because the fetus is G6PD deficient. So it can cause hemolysis in fetus. Other adverse events are GI upset, weakness, and uneasiness in chest. Next, uses. It's used in Vivax malaria as a radical curative, as we have seen in the regimens for Vivax malaria. It's combined with almost all the drugs for radical cure. We saw the 14-day regimen. And in case of falciparum malaria, it kills the gametes and cuts down the transmission to mosquito. So in case of falciparum malaria, it's used for this purpose. And here it is, single dose is sufficient. Another option for radical cure is tafenoquine, which is one-day alternative for Vivax radical cure. As we have seen that primaquine needs to be given for 14 days. So the tafenoquine provides benefit because it needs to be given only once. Next is doxycycline and clindamycin. So we have been repeatedly mentioning these two drugs at the same time. First, doxycycline. It is erythrocytic schizontosydal, and it's active against all plasmodial species. It is used only in combination with quinine for treatment of chloroquine-resistant malaria. And for suppressive prophylaxis, also it can be used. Now, doxycycline cannot be used in children and pregnant because of various toxicities. The other drug is clindamycin. It again is erythrocytic schizontosydal, and it's active against all species. It is alternative to doxycycline to combine with quinine, and it can be used in children and pregnant. So basically, both these drugs are there to combine with quinine, but doxycycline cannot be used in children and pregnant, but clindamycin can be used. Next, so this completes all the individual anti-malarial drugs. And now we come to the artemisinin derivatives. So this is one group of drug, and they are all the derivatives of artemisinin. So what's artemisinin? Artemisinin is the active principle of plant Artemisia annua used in Chinese traditional medicine. It's a potent and rapid blood schizontoside, again similar to chloroquine and remaining drugs. It's active against erythrocytic schizontosides. It's active against Plasmodium falciparum, resistant to all other anti-malarial drugs. So yes, the remaining anti-malarial drugs that we had been studying, they show somewhat cross-resistance, but this is totally different. So it does not exhibit any cross-resistance with any of the drugs that we studied so far. So it is active against even if the parasite are resistant to all other anti-malarial drugs. Now it exerts action on wide range of stages, so from ring forms to early seasons, thus have broadest time window for anti-malarial action. As it acts at for longer duration over a wide range of the malarial stage of parasite development, it has broadest time window. It acts for longer time. Now, it's lethal to early stage malarial gametes, but not to mature ones. So it reduces, but do not totally interrupt the disease transmission. because the mature parasites still survive when the artemisinin is used. So it does not totally interrupt the transmission. Recrudescence rate is high with artemisinin if they are used alone in short courses. Now because artemisinins are short-acting drugs, monotherapy needs to be extended beyond the disappearance of parasites, and this increases the chance of resistance. The recrudescence can be totally prevented by combining 3-day regimen with a long-acting drug. So when artemisinin are used for short term, there are chances of recrudescence, and to prevent the recrudescence, we need to give the drug for longer duration, and if we do so, there are chances of resistance. So the solution is giving the artemisinin with long-acting drugs. When we use the artemisinin for shorter duration, we will cover the theory in the artemisinin-based combination therapy. The drugs in this group are artesunate, artemether, artether, dihydroartemisinin, arterelone, lumefantrine, pyronaridine, and atovaquone. Now the mechanism of action. Again, how can this mechanism be known when all the remaining drugs' mechanism of action was not clearly known? So it is also joining those drugs regarding mechanism of action. So the mechanism of artemisinin derivatives is not definitely known. But again, it interacts with heme in parasite and releases the highly reactive free radical species. That binds to membrane proteins, causes lipid peroxidation, damages endothelial reticulum, endoplasmic reticulum, and ultimately causes lysis of the parasite. So this might be the mechanism of action of artemisinins. Now adverse effects. They are mostly mild, and all the drugs are usually better tolerated. However, the side effects that can occur are nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, itching, drug fever, delayed hemolysis, and other hypersensitivity reactions. Headache, tinnitus, dizziness, bleeding, dark urine, transient reticulopenia, and leukopenia can also occur. And there is risk of cardiac conduction defects if it is given with drug that prolong QT interval. So these side effects can occur. Now the uses. First, uncomplicated falciparum malaria. So as we have seen, if they are used alone, there are chances of recrudescence and resistance. So for falciparum, they are always used in combination with other drugs that work with different mechanism. And in Vivax, only in case of chloroquine resistant infection, and when quinine plus sulfadoxine or clindamycin can also not be used. So again, going back to the approaches of our cure of the malaria, we have seen that in case of falciparum malaria, we directly go for the artemisinin-based combination therapies. So here we are watching it from the perspective of artemisinins. So they are used in falciparum malaria. But when studying the Vivax malaria, we saw that our first options were chloroquine. If it is sensitive, if the malarial parasite are known to be sensitive to the chloroquine is preferred over other drugs. And the other option was quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin. And finally, the last option was the artemisinin-based combination therapy. So these artemisinins are used in Vivax only if the chloroquine or quinine cannot be used. Now for prophylaxis, although they can provide the prophylaxis, this use is not allowed to prevent the development of resistance. We have already malarial parasites have already developed so much resistance to multiple anti-malarial drugs, and this is one of the main problem globally. So the artemisinins are newer drugs, and to prevent their resistance, the use their use for prophylaxis is not allowed. The other reason for not using artemisinin for prophylaxis is they are less effective on mature gametes. So they do not interrupt the transmission completely. So these are both the reasons. Next, for the treatment of severe and complicated falciparum malaria, it is drug irrespective of chloroquine resistance status. The advantages are faster parasite clearance, better tolerance, dosing is simpler, and higher efficacy and lower mortality. So this was all about artemisinin based artesunate derivatives. And now artemisinin based combination therapy, ACT. So why we use combination? To prevent resistance. As we study in the general chemotherapy, that there are, when the chances of coming up of, when we use the drug in combination, the chances of development of resistance to both the drugs at the same time is very less. So this combination strategy is used for multiple drugs like diseases, like in tuberculosis also we used combinations to prevent the resistance. So that theory applies here also. These days we used artemisinin based combination therapies in malaria to prevent resistance. In choosing the companion drug, most important consideration is elimination half-life, as we will see next. The most important thing is elimination half-life. The effective concentration in blood must be maintained for at least 3 to 4 asexual cycles of parasite, that is 6 to 8 days, to exhaust the parasite burden. To clear the parasites from the body, the effective concentration must be maintained for at least 3 to 4 asexual life cycles to make sure that all the parasites are killed. However, for this, we might think that okay, we can use longer acting drug, but long acting drug allows sub-inhibitory concentration to persist in the blood, facilitating selection of resistant mutants. So again, when the drug is longer acting, it stays, we know that the drug is completely cleared of the body after about 4 to 5 plasma half-lives. So if the plasma half-life is longer, then once the drug has served its purpose, it will also remain in the body for a longer time, and that longer duration, and if the parasites are there in the body, then exposure to those sub-inhibitory concentration can foster the development of resistance. So this is another problem. This risk is minimized by choosing short T-half drug that reduces the parasite load rapidly and drastically. And artemisinin-based artemisinin compounds fulfill this requirement. They act rapidly and kill 95% of the plasmodia. They leave only a small biomass of parasite to be eliminated by long T-half drug, and that reduces the chances of selecting resistant mutant. So basically the strategy is to combine the short-acting artemisinin derivatives. Most of the artemisinin derivatives are shorter-acting, and they are combined with other longer-acting drugs which act by different mechanism. So what happens is, when we give the combination, is initially the artemisinin works, which works very fast and clears most of the plasmodial parasite. So this decreases the parasite load, and then the artemisinins are given for short duration only, and whatever the parasites are remaining, that can be tackled with longer acting drugs. Now this time we do not have any problem with longer acting drug, because the parasite load is already reduced, so almost to 95% by artemisinins. So the chance of development of resistance is low already, because we already have very limited parasites in the body. So this is the overall strategy for combining artemisinin and other drugs. Now the combinations, various combinations that can be used or that are used as ACTR, artemether plus lumefantrine. Here 60 milligram of artemether and 480 milligram of lumefantrine are given 2 times a day for 3 days. The next regimen is artesunate plus mefloquine, where artesunate at the dose of 100 milligram twice a day for 3 days, and mefloquine 750 milligram on second day, 500 milligram on third day. Then artesunate plus amodiaquine. Here artesunate at 200 milligram and amodiaquine at 600 milligram are given for 3 days. The next option is artesunate plus sulfadoxine plus pyrimethamine. Here artesunate at the dose of 100 milligram twice a day is given for 3 days, and sulfadoxine pyrimethamine combination is given as a single dose. The next option is dihydro artemisinin and piperacquine. Here DHA at the dose of 120 milligram and piperacquine at 960 milligram given for 3 days. Then arterenone 150 milligram plus piperacquine 750 milligram daily for 3 days. So these are the various combinations in artemisinin based combination therapy. This completes entire topic of anti-malarial drugs, and I think we can conclude now. Thank you.